Yo, 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 let's get it popping. Let's get it popping already. It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, back at you with yet another episode. All right, guys, we are back in the studio here in Pasadena after a few weeks of not me being here. I am finally back in the studio, ready to deliver yet another episode for you guys. All right, so yes, it's been a while, but I was busy with work. I was busy with other things, so those needed to be taken care of before I was able to make my way into the studio. So I had actually been here. I had been in the co-working space, but I hadn't had a chance to jump in here and do a solid episode for you guys because I just was all over the place. I usually just came here, maybe did a little bit of work, did a little bit of editing, maybe I did a little bit of filming here in Pasadena, and then I had to take off to go on to the next place to film or whatever it is that I had to do afterwards. So I didn't really have a chance to come through into the studio here with the mic and film something for you guys. But I am so happy I'm finally back here for you guys. Yeah, with another episode. I forgot what the number is. We're like in the 20s, I believe. It's like episode 20 something. I forgot. I think it's like 26, 27, I believe. I don't remember. I don't really keep track. I know we're in the 20s just because like when it comes to editing these episodes, I have to title them, and I've titled every single one of the episodes with a number at the end, and so that's the only reason I kind of remember what it is, but that's pretty much it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. We do have a lot to cover because I do have a lot of things that I want to talk about. There was a lot of topics that came up, and that usually doesn't really happen. Usually, like along the way, like if I take the 3 weeks out of not doing an episode, it's because I don't really have anything like urgent or anything like really important that I want to jump into the studio and like talk about it right then and there. But this time it was different. Actually, I actually had things that I wanted to talk about, but just because time didn't permit, I couldn't come through and talk about those things. But yeah, so some of them are pertaining myself, and some of them are pertaining kind of like the foodie industry and other foodies as well. And so I want to go ahead and get into it right away. We're going to be talking about a controversy that one of our fellow foodies went through with another restaurant. We're going to be talking about fallout that I had with a fellow foodie as well. I'm not going to name who it is, but it is a he. Unfortunately, I had a fallout with that individual, and it didn't end really well. But I will be getting into it in a little bit right now. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about that, and then we're gonna be talking about a few things that I saw on Threads as well, because those are always interesting. I always see like interesting thoughts that foodies have, and just people there. Dots that they have on the foodie industry and like the way that things operate and everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one I want to talk about here, the first topic, is the controversy that I want to talk about that one of our fellow foodies went through. Obviously, I had nothing to do with this. I'm just a spectator here. I have met the foodie in person before. I just met her once. We didn't really talk much since we met at an event. So I just kind of just saw her there, and we met and everything. But I haven't really gotten to know her. But I do know her, and she's stopped by some of my places as well to do collaborations. So for that, I'm always appreciative, especially for the foodies that come through and do collaborations for my places. I really, really do appreciate it, because I do understand that you're taking time out of your day in order to go to one of my places and do a review and everything. And I know how much work that takes, because I do that myself as well. It's not that I'm just a social media manager and I'm just asking a bunch of foodies to come through and do reviews for my places. Like, I'm out there too. I'm out there in the field. I'm doing the exact same thing as they are. And so I understand when they commit to coming to one of my places and they do and they deliver the content that they do. And so that's always great. And so just so you know, every foodie out there that's collaborated with one of my spots and we're close and we know each other, just know that I always got your back. And if there's anything, there's always, there's a specific topic or something that you went through, a story that you want to share with me, you want me to share here in the podcast, you want me to give my thoughts on it, you want me to break it down for you, or, use it as a lesson or something, you just want me to talk about it here in the episode, you can always feel free to DM me and just let me know what the story is, or you can send it through my email. I have it down below, the foodiefilmmaker@gmail.com, where you can basically send your story there if you want, or you can just DM me, like I said. Or if you see me in person, you can always tell me, and if you want me to share it here in the podcast, make it public, we can always do that as well. And if you want to remain anonymous, you just want me to share the story and share the context of it, but you don't want me to really, say that that has to do specifically with you or something, or you don't want me to name the specific client or restaurant or stuff like that, we could always do something like that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're actually going to start off with the controversy that my fellow foodie went through here. Her name is Rachel, and I'm going to go ahead and leave her IG profile screenshot here somewhere so you guys can go ahead and check out her profile. Check out her work. She's got amazing reviews there. I'm pretty sure you're going to like it, and you're going to have somebody new to go ahead and follow and connect with. So basically, I read the original review, and it didn't sound too bad, to be honest. Like, I don't see why the owner got all, like, upset and, like, crazy about it, because it wasn't really that, like, it didn't feel like a personal attack. There was actually a lot of good things that she said about the place, and I feel like they were just completely ignored by the owner, because like he just went all out and like just in a very disrespectful and ugly way. So let me go ahead and read her original review first, so you guys get the context of what happened here, and then we're gonna read his response to her review, and then we're gonna go ahead and discuss it a little bit. So let me go ahead and read her original review. I wanted to give 3 stars because of the service I received that day, but their food is actually really good. So, visited Mountain Sand Barbecue during one of the most chaotic weeks in LA this June. And while I usually give grades during busy times, and since I knew they were understaffed due to the LA protest, I had a bit of a mixed service experience I wanted to share. So as you can tell, this is from June. We're already like in July at the moment that I'm recording this episode. So I've been saving this one for quite a while. As you can see, I haven't been in the studio, so I haven't been able to record anything. So I wanted to talk about this, but I just had it on my phone. I knew that once I had time to come through, I was going to talk about it. But let's go ahead and continue with the review. Let's start with the food. The ribeye is phenomenal. So tender, juicy, and flavorful. Honestly, it's one of the best I've had in K-Town, and I come back just for that. The cold noodles were also super refreshing. I got the spicy one, and it was perfectly balanced. And yes, I asked for it veggie-free. Their steamed egg was ultra fluffy, and I loved that their side dishes were clean and included some unique options. Now, on to the service. I understand they were severely understaffed. It was hectic. But when I went up to the front to ask a question, the younger female server pointed at me before I could even say excuse me and cut me off with a curt, "Sorry, can you give me a moment? We're busy." It felt a bit dismissive, and honestly, it left a bad impression. That said, the manager was incredibly kind and attentive. He really turned the experience around. You could tell he cared and knew what he was doing. So, do we need another K barbecue spot in K-Town? Maybe not, but this one's worth visiting for that ribeye. I'll definitely be back, hopefully on a less chaotic day. So, as you can see from the context here from the review, it was on a chaotic day, right? So, usually, when it's a chaotic day, when it's a busy day, a lot of things can kind of go wrong. And, she made sure that she let you guys know that that's something that could happen. And if you decide to go out on a day when it's going to be busy because there's going to be a lot of activity going on, you can expect some things to happen like that, because usually the employees, the workers, they're not really on the top of their game. There's just a lot of pressure added onto the work that they have to already do. And so that extra pressure kind of puts people in a different kind of a, spectrum. They don't operate normally. They're not really in their, in the zone. They're not really like themselves, like, a lot of things happen. Like when you're under pressure, you kind of start to forget like your training. You start to kind of, panic. You get anxiety. You get stress. You get all these emotions, and so those can affect your performance. They can affect the way that you start to do things. You're just not present anymore. So you start making mistakes, whether it's like actually with the actual food. If you're someone who's making the food, maybe you start to forget certain ingredients. You put a little bit too much of this and that. You forget to put that. you start to mess up things here and there. If you're dealing with customers, you kind of are not really present there, and you start to forget that you're supposed to treat customers with respect and treat them really nicely all the time. And you have to really make the customer feel very comfortable to be there, and not only that, but also give them a spectacular service that's gonna have them come back the next day. So things like that, they go out the window because you're under pressure. Things are not just, you're not really there. Now, if you're not used to the pressure, a lot of those things can happen. I used to work in a cafe before, and usually when there was a lot of pressure, when there was like, a lot of customers waiting for their food, their orders and stuff, they start to stare at you. They start to look at you like in a very mean way because, they're waiting for their food. They want their stuff, and they already paid for it as well. So like all you got to do is deliver now, but you're not delivering fast enough. And even though you may be trying to deliver as fast as possible, there might just be a lot of orders to bake, and so you're not used to the pressure, especially if you don't have a system, if you don't have specific tactics and specific strategies to operate under pressure. Then it could make it even harder for you to actually operate in that kind of environment. So yeah. So from what we can see here from the review, that it was one of those days. So right off the bat, the restaurant is already put in a place where it's they're under pressure. So they're not able to put their best foot forward, and even if they try, it's still not going to be the best foot forward, just because there's a lot of elements that are out of your control when it's busy like that. Like it's just like, customers all over the place, and they can really drive you crazy if if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not ready for it can just get very chaotic. But yeah, so she mentioned there was a lot of good things about this place, from the ribeye, the cold noodles, and everything seemed pretty good. It was perfectly balanced from what I can see, and everything was good. All I can really see is that the customer service was a little bit slacky there, but like I said, that's kind of understandable. It's very normal for an employee to just lose it and then just start responding to everybody like in a very mean way because they're just stressed and not in control of what they're doing. So yeah, but other than that, I mean, like everything else seemed pretty good. I mean, I don't see how this review can be offensive or rude or disrespectful. If anything, everything was said with respect, and even the things that she felt that were kind of off, she still kind of she was still very kind about it. There wasn't any profanity used. There wasn't any personal attacks being used here. It was just very, very sincere, very straight to the point, and very, just honest. And I think this, for a review, this is a very, very good review, I would say. Not like one of those reviews where it's just a personal attack, where you're like, this place sucks and it's like this and that, and it's all like profanity, and like it's also not the other way around, where it's like, oh, this is the best place ever, it's so good, this is good, and then, like everything's good, and like, okay, like like what makes it good, right? So like it's not one of those. It's like it's a really good review that really encapsulates the entire experience, everything from the staff to the food, the experience, everything, right? So pretty good there. So now let's go ahead and read the owner's response, which, it feels more like a personal attack at this point. By the way, today, got this Jarritos drink here. It looks like Jarritos, but it's not. It's actually just it's one of those Salud. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I have a little packet here, so you guys can look at it right there. I hope it's focusing. Yeah, these are really good. They've actually been trending on TikTok. You guys can go ahead and buy them. They come like in a bag, and there's like a lot of like little packets like these in there. There's like 24, I believe. They're pretty good actually, and now they did like a collaboration. So there's this brand here, Salud. They make all these like nice like electrolytes, caffeine loaded type of packets that you can just add to just any drink or water, basically, and then you just mix it up with the water, and then like you can get something like this drink right here, real delicious, and yeah. So if you guys want to check it out, that drink is amazing. It's really good, especially if you like Jarritos. I like Jarritos. That's the lemon lime version. I would say that's even better than the actual lemon lime jarritos, just because it is less sweet. The original, obviously, lemon lime jarritos. If you guys have had them, those are pretty sweet. I mean, if you're looking for something sweet though, that's the one to go. Then you might want to drink the original. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more healthier, and then it has all those like electrolytes, it has the extra caffeine as well. Instead of going and drinking an energy drink, you can drink one of those, and it's pretty good. So yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the owner's response, which was brutal, man. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the Korean soup Nazi parentheses me. So he's basically referring to himself. That's how he calls himself. Is that a loss of 4 words for your review and your cowardly audacity? It's not that your review is incorrect or that malicious, but it's the fact that you were at a restaurant as a wannabe influencer to shoot a reel, and we catered to all your demands, starting with a free comped meal. Let's face it, your status on Instagram is barely mediocre, and that's been very kind. And we don't normally comp meals for someone in your category, but we did it out of good faith to be nice. We even went beyond what we initially agreed by comping your additional items, and this is the thanks we get. I wanted to give 3 stars. Are you fucking kidding me? Our staff members all remember you because you were being a demanding. Does that say biatch? I think it does say biatch. A demanding biatch during your visit, and according to our manager, whom you describe as incredibly kind and attentive, also told me that you are such a demanding biatch, and your review is absolutely a below the belt biatch slap of a review from another Korean person with a very wrong sense of entitlement. And this is after a free meal above and beyond what we agreed to in the first place. Also, my staff told me exactly what happened, and our lady server did nothing wrong by asking you to give her a minute during a very busy day. If you felt that was dismissive and left a bad impression, you leaving this review after a free meal is much, much worse. Such audacity and such wrongful sense of entitlement. You can take your mediocre at best status elsewhere and be a biatch there, as you are banned from my restaurant for life. We want our free food back, as you are simply an ill-mannered biatch. No soup for you. By the way, your reel sucked. Just being honest. All right, man. Damn. So here's the thing here, man. Like, reading the owner's response, this sounds more like a personal attack, especially with all that biatch in there. Like, I think that's what it says, man. I mean, it's spelled like Beeeatch. Yeah, that's definitely biatch. What the hell, dude? Like, that is crazy. That is like a straight up personal attack there, because first of all, you go into her, you're basically disrespecting her title as a food influencer by calling her a wannabe influencer and stuff. Second of all, you're basically admitting that you comped the meal, right? So you agreed to have her come through. You agreed to give her a free meal in order for her to review your food. So you basically wanted some honest review, right? You obviously wanted somebody to come through. In this case, you wanted her to come through and check out your spot and give you some feedback as far as like how the food was and the service and everything. Now, you as an owner, you had the chance to go through her profile and vet it and look through it and see if that's somebody you wanted to have at your restaurant. Obviously, based on your review here, your response, clearly you didn't look through it as much as you're now criticizing the influencer, in this case, Rachel. You're saying that her work sucks and that her reel that she made for you, which she still made for you, you're saying that it sucked, and that, what other stuff are you saying in here, man? You said a bunch of bad stuff here. Like, it was crazy, dude. Like, let me see. You almost sound like a victim, guy, dude. Like, it's very like from a victim point of view here, trying to make yourself sound like, oh my god, I'm the victim. Oh my god, like my place is like a sanctuary, and like everything at my place is perfect, and you're the one who sucks, and like, like it was like yeah, like, and then you're trying to like, you want your money back, you want your free food back, really? Like you really like, dude, there was like nothing wrong with your food. Like going back to her review, there wasn't really like anything that made it sound like she was upset with your food. Like even if anything, she said that your ribeye is really good and one of the best that there is in K Town, and like, what the hell, like, then the other thing that she said was the cold noodles, which were also very refreshing, and she said it was perfectly balanced as well. And the only thing that I saw here that really went wrong here was really the service. And like I said, it's typical. Things do happen when it gets busy, but you could have just said that. You could have just said, hey, you know what, we apologize. It was a busy day, it was chaos, and stuff happens when it's chaotic, and that's okay. It's not like it's the end of the world or something. But the fact that you had to go into this and really tell her that she's a wannabe influencer, and that you normally don't comp food for influencers of her level and stuff, like with her number of followers and stuff, but you still did it anyway. Like, come on, like, you knew what you were doing. You were expecting a nice review, something that was sugar coated, something that was really nice and full of roses and all nice and shit. And now when she gave you an honest review where like basically I don't even see anything like really really bad about it. Like I've seen reviews where they really go hard. Like they didn't even go hard on you, bro. Like I've seen reviews where they'll really go hard. Like they'll criticize every little thing, and you best believe like there's places where they'll really get into it, and they'll really be brutally honest about every single little thing. So from what I read from hers, like it was mostly positive, just based on what I read, and like the service itself was the one that I feel like that was the only one where she didn't really feel comfortable. But like I said, like it was a chaotic day, so she even said that in the beginning. So it lets us know if we're gonna go to that restaurant. It lets us know ahead of time, like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't go on a day that it's really busy. How about if we go on a day where it's not too busy, where it's gonna be chill? She said that the food was already great. So then, if we go on a day where it's not too busy, it's probably the service is going to be a lot better, because there's not going to be that added pressure and all that chaos and stress added onto the service. But it's crazy. This guy's out of his mind, and he did use profanity as well. Where right here where it says like, I wanted to give 3 stars. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, bro, come on, man. Are you fucking kidding me with your fucking response, bro? Like, are you like? And then using all this biatch all over the place. Like, come on, man. Like, really, like. It's just disrespectful. Like, honestly, like this response was disrespectful. Like my take on it now, with the experience that I have working with restaurants and doing all these collabs and everything, here's my take on that. Like, really, at the end of the day, if you're going to be inviting influencers to come to your place, be ready to receive honest feedback. And when you do receive it, acknowledge it, take it to heart. And if you have something that you feel uncomfortable with, if you see something that the influencer said, through a Yelp review or on the content that they're sharing on social media, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok, then just let them know privately. You could always just send them a message directly, be like, hey, like, I feel like maybe you didn't. I think you might be mistaken on this take here or what you said here. I don't agree with it. I think maybe you might want to reconsider that because this and that and so on and so forth. You know, you can have a proper conversation with the person behind the scenes. You don't have to come out and do responses like these that are public and that everybody gets to see. I even spoke with Rachel about this when I saw that post because I thought it was quite a rude and disrespectful. And I've seen this happen too with other influencers where they go, they review the place, they give an honest review, and then the owners just start getting upset, and then they start writing all these like nasty things, and whether it's whether they send the negative responses through DMs or they make a whole story out of it on Instagram or something. At the end of the day, like don't do that. Like it just doesn't make any sense because here's the thing: like if you do something like that, first of all, the influencer is gonna probably post it. You know, just so you know, you as a business owner, if you blast someone like that, you put someone out there like that, you start using profanity, you start saying you're biatch and all that stuff, the influencer will put that out there. Second of all, the influencer is probably connected with quite a number of people because influencers, that's what we do. Even if it's just a few people, it might not be like a huge influencer, but every influencer has some influence. And perhaps, like, yes, maybe the influencer themselves doesn't have the reach, they themselves, but maybe they know someone that has that potential reach. So then it starts to spread even more, as you can see right now, like well, obviously right now it's not really the case as Rachel has a lot more followers than I do, but say that I had a whole lot more followers. Now I'm talking about this situation here. You guys already know what restaurant this is. I'm sharing this with my audience here. I'm sharing this with you guys. So now you guys watching this episode here, you guys are like, oh, like really, like the owner of that place really responded that way. Like now you might want to reconsider going to that place because of the way that the owner was. You may not want to support a place like that because it just doesn't feel right now, especially if you're an influencer, because most influencers here, we support each other and we want each other, we want to see each other grow, and so most of us are friends in this community. And so when you mess with one of us, it's kind of like the whole pretty much community here will kind of have their eye on you now, and there'll be a very very bit if they don't turn on you completely from the get-go, uh they'll definitely consider turning on you at some point, or just not even like acknowledging you because of what you've done to one of the influencers here. So that's number one. So it will get spread, it will be put out there, and that's something that you definitely don't want as a restaurant owner because it can affect your business. Even if you think that it won't, and that you're criticizing her that she's a mediocre influencer, and that you don't like her content and stuff like that. Like that's all bullshit. You wanted her, you wanted uh you wanted that review to be out there, but you wanted that review to be a certain way. You wanted it to be positive. You wanted her to say really nice things about your place and not say a single negative thing about you. And that's not how it turned out. So now you want to degrade her and make people think that she's not, that her review is not valid and that it's worthless and stuff like that. But people know, and plus her following is pretty big. And so it's people don't get there just by coincidence. Especially knowing her, I know she has great work, and so if you don't agree with something, just talk to them privately, and see if you can come up with some sort of agreement. Some sort of a something that can work for the two of you. So sometimes things do go wrong, and then as an influencer, everyone can understand that. As an influencer, We understand that sometimes things can go wrong with your restaurant. We don't always go in and expect the restaurants to be perfect. So if you just communicate with us, if you just let us know, like, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. Look, I know you wanted to come in here and have the best experience and this and that, but unfortunately, we were hit with whether it's like, pressure from like, it just got very chaotic. Like a lot of orders just started coming in when you came in and stuff like that. And you could just communicate and just be like, hey, you know what, this is not really who we are. This is not really how we normally would want, the experience to be. Can you come back another time or something? Re-invite the influencer, be like, you know what, let me customize, let me improve the experience for you. We don't want this to be out there. We would like to make it right for you. And so you can talk to the influencer like that. And some influencers will probably say yes. They'll be like, all right, you know what? I understand your point of view. I understand like it wasn't, you didn't put your best foot forward, whatever, such and such happened. Let's do it again, right? Some influencers, they may not agree to it just because, maybe they only like to visit certain places just once, or maybe they just, the experience was just too bad that they just don't want to even try again. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they just don't really care about it anymore. And they're just like, you know what, whatever, it happened, whatever, and sometimes that's just how it's going to be. And so you, on the other hand, if the influencer, not that it applies here, because what Rachel posted, it wasn't even that bad. It wasn't like negative. You could have, the owner could have easily came out there and just, really written a response of like, hey, we're glad, start with the positives. We're happy that you love our ribeye, you love their cold noodles, that you had a great time like that. We're sorry that some of our staff members were just not on point at that day. They weren't sharp, but we were really, we were really busy. It was a chaotic day. We were hit with a lot of orders, and so unfortunately when that happens, we have our staff members running around, and they're not always like they're not properly trained to probably take care of an influencer. So unfortunately, it was our mistake. We like to make it up to you. Please contact us and see what we can do, and something like that, and that would have been the perfect response there, to give an influencer. Obviously, if the influencer now comes out, not that this is the case, but if the influencer does come out and does the personal attacks and stuff like that, the best thing you can do is just really ignore it at that point, and you can still respond. You can respond in a very positive way, where you're just like, hey, we're sorry that you feel that way, this and that. You can explain wherever explanation could be made, and then just leave it at that. Just be like, hey, we're sorry that you had to experience this, and this happened because of that, and this is because of that, and that's pretty much it. If you like to come back, we like to make it right in any way possible, and just end it there, right? And that's it. You could just move on. You don't have to go into the profanity of having to go all out and having to do all these mean things and having to do personal attacks against the influencer or stuff like that. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it to the restaurant. It's not worth it to nobody. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So my fallout. So I had a recent fallout with a certain food influencer. Like I said, I don't want to name who he is, but it is a he. And I did meet him quite a few months ago. We met at a certain collaboration, and since then, we kind of clicked, and then we started doing a few collaborations together. I decided to go out there and kind of help him out with his page as well. I introduced him to some of my restaurants, some of the people that I work with, and I was also in part his cameraman too. And so we did some work together. And the last kind of business deal that we had was that I had him also come through and help me with one of my clients that I have with social media management. And I had him come through. I had him kind of help me out for a few months. I had him on for 3 months actually, kind of helping me out there, trying to help me manage the page and get a little bit more exposure to those two restaurants that we were working with. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. At the end of the really like the during the second month, I kind of felt like it was just not working out. I didn't really feel like there was enough effort put on his part as far as like the work that I was receiving and what I was paying him. So I did kind of talk to him in person and told him that, hey, like, is this something that you're able to handle? Because at the end of the day, he was my friend, and we still wanted to. At least from my part, I still wanted to kind of work with him and keep him on board. But if this wasn't something that was for him, because I know he had no experience doing social media management, and he had no experience like kind of doing this like as a business and stuff. So I understood that possibly like he wasn't getting the hang of it, or he was just not interested in it. And so I basically asked him up front, like, is this something that you can handle? Is this something that you're interested in? Look, because if you're not, we can just end it here. We can still continue doing our collaborations that we still do like outside of this. But let's preserve the friendship, right? Let's preserve what we still got. If this is something that you can't do, that's fine. I'm totally okay with that. I understand, because look, I used to have a job before. I used to work at many places, and there was lots of places where it got to a certain point where I just didn't like it, or some of them I didn't even like it from the beginning. I was just doing it just because I had to survive somehow. But once you have a chance to kind of step out of it, as I could see with him. He was having a lot of he was starting to grow. He was starting to get a lot of traction. He was starting to get a lot of deals. He was starting to, he was starting to work with a lot more restaurants that were paying him. And so I'm like, look, if that's the route you want to pursue, the route of an influencer. Like I've said, there's a lot of routes you can pursue in this foodie journey here. One of them is that you start growing as an influencer, and eventually you start charging, you start working out your rates, you start working out packages that you can offer to restaurants, and go and do a review for them. If your page is big enough, you can go and start doing something like that. And I was like, hey, it looks like that's the route that you're pursuing. I can see that you're posting more often with more places here and there. And from what he had told me, he had been getting paid from these places. So I'm like, if that's the route you want to pursue, then you're more than welcome to go and do that. And I fully support that if that's what you want to do. But I can't have you on board here as well, because I'm paying you to help me out here. I'm paying you so that we work as a team here. But if you're not complying, if you're not doing your part, this is business at the end of the day. We have the friendship part and we have the business part. As a business type of deal, there's certain things that need to be met. And so in this case, I was looking at it from a business perspective, and I was like, this guy is just not. He's just not putting in the effort. It's not worth it. The investment is a little too high for what I'm receiving in exchange. And I'm better off just, keeping that money to myself, or hiring somebody else um, to help me out, because at the end of the day, I do need that help, but I'm not receiving it. And at the end of the day, I don't have the extra capital. I don't have the extra money to go out and hire somebody else. But why would I even do that? Why would I even need to hire even a second person to help me out when the first person is even cutting it? If he was putting in a maximum effort, and we still couldn't kind of manage the page, the client that we were working with, then yes, it's possible that I could have managed to hire a second person, but it just wasn't happening. And so, I had to cut him off. I had to tell him on the third month, I still gave him an extra month. He said, because once I had that talk with him, he told me, yes, I would like to stay on board. I really want to help you out. And, I want to help out the place as well. So I said, let's do it then. So I gave him another month, and it wasn't anything major, like he bumped it up just a little bit, but it just wasn't enough for me. And so I had to cut him off at the end of that month. And things didn't go well after that. He just started removing collaborations from the restaurant, from the client that we were working with together. He started removing all the collaborations that, from the content that he had made for the client. And he removed some of the collaborations that we had done together. And pretty much he unfollowed me. He unfollowed all the pages that I introduced him to, all the clients that he had worked with. And yeah, and so eventually, like, I haven't even heard from him ever since. Like, all he said was okay. After I told him that I had to let him go, and I haven't heard from him ever since. And that's pretty much what happened there. And yeah, so here's the thing, like, sometimes, in this business, from a business aspect, because I want to talk about it from a business aspect. Sometimes you do feel like it's a great idea to go out and hire your friends and tell them to start working for you, and have them help you out and stuff. But the thing is that sometimes, that's not the best idea, just because there is that friendship in between, and sometimes, the friendship is that's what sometimes they prioritize the friendship. So then, like, you know they just kind of slack off, and you as the person who's in charge, the person who hired them, you kind of feel a little bit, you're not really all like, kind of, you don't want to be that serious either, because they're your friends, they're your buddies, right? So there's that friendship element, and so you kind of just let things slide. Like, I let it slide for 3 months until I finally said I had to cut this person off. And it just, I feel like it was unfortunate that I had to end that way, because the business deal ended along with the friendship, with him just kind of going his way. And yeah, and so things like that happen. It's not like it's the first time that I lose a friendship over a business element here. But probably won't be the last one either. But these things happen. And so if you're someone who owns a business, or you're doing some sort of like management stuff, or you're doing like freelancing stuff, and you want to hire people to kind of help you out and stuff, just understand that if you do end up hiring like a friend, or something like that, something like this could happen. Eventually you might need to cut that person off. Not that it happens all the time. Like, there are some friends where you could actually work with them, and if it doesn't work out, you can still preserve the friendship, and that friend is mature enough and strong enough to understand that, hey, you know what, I wasn't meant for this. Like, I'm not good at this. This is not my thing, but we can still be friends. We can still be cool. We can still talk. But the business part, it's just not my thing. We tried it, didn't work out. Still stay as friends, and that's cool. And that's pretty much what I was looking forward to with this individual, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. So, that's okay. It happens. People come and go, especially in business. You work with people. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. You only work with those individuals for a certain amount of time. And you take what you can, you learn what you can, and then you move on. At the end of the day, there's so many more people to work with. There's so many more foodies out there. There's so many more just people in general, Even if you do lose a friend, you could always make another friend. There's so many more individuals out there. Never take it as a way to kind of close yourself off and be like, well, I'm never going to work with anyone again. I'm never going to make friends again because, this one friend that I had, he left me and stuff, like, it happens, here and there. You just got to continue working hard, continue doing your thing. And the next right person will probably come along. As of now, I still haven't hired anybody else to replace that individual. I've just been handling it on my own, which is why I've been kind of busy for the past few weeks here, because I've had to take care of business all on my own. But, like I said, this stuff happens, and you pretty much got to deal with it, move on, and continue working hard. So that's pretty much that for that. And now let's go ahead and let me see. Let me go ahead and get into some of the threads here real quick. I'm not gonna go into too much, as this podcast has kind of extended quite a bit actually. I wasn't expecting it to go on that for that long, but it kind of has. This is a story from a certain foodie actually. They posted. They were criticizing a certain page that pretty much posts. They post popular places, saying that they're hitting gems, but they're not really hidden gems. There's like nothing hidden about them. They're actually very popular places, but there's just places that they just need views, and so because they need views, they need to get popular. They start posting places that everybody already knows about, or if there's a certain place that's really trendy right now, they'll go and they'll post about it and they'll say it's a hidden gem. Like, it's not really a hidden gem. Like, very rarely is there like a hidden gem that's actually a hidden gem and that it's not popular, because usually hidden gems are not popular just because they're hidden. They're hidden, really. Like Like you can't tell me like there's a hidden gem like on a street that's it's a main street like it's a street where a lot of people come through. Especially if there's a place in downtown like whatever city it's in, that place is not a hidden gem because you're in downtown. Like everybody goes to downtown. Like that's like even people who don't live there go to downtown because that's like a tourist place. Whatever it is. Whether it's downtown Los Angeles, whether it's downtown whatever like the Koreatown, right? It's like the main area, right? The downtown area of Koreatown. You go to downtown Pasadena, right? Downtown Santa Monica, downtown Long Beach. These places are populated. These places, people are gonna go there. There is no hidden gems there because they're not hidden. They're they're literally exposed there. They're literally like open to you. You could see it from if you're driving, if you're passing through with a bus, if you're walking by, you're gonna see these places. They're not hidden. Hidden gems are places that you normally wouldn't run into. You normally wouldn't even know they're there unless someone told you, unless you saw it somewhere online. Like this is a hidden gem. It's like hidden, like maybe you gotta go through like two alleys or something in order to find this place, or you gotta like take like certain turns, right? Like it's not on the main street. It's like really tucked away in the middle of nowhere and stuff. And so that is really what a hidden gem is. And possibly, and it's gotta be good too. It can't just be hidden and suck. It's gotta be a good place that has good stuff. They offer really good, high quality stuff, and it's hidden. It's not a place that's constantly advertising. It's not a place that's constantly putting signs out there and letting everybody know that, hey, we're here, right? It's like one of those gems that, you will only know about it if you actually live there. If you're a local of that place, then you'll definitely know about the hidden gem. If you don't live there, there is no possible way you'll know about this hidden gem unless you talk to a local there, unless you meet someone who lives there. They'll tell you about that place. But if you don't live there, if you don't know anybody who lives there, chances of you knowing about that hidden gem are very low. Unless somebody from that specific area that lives there is an influencer or something and they post about it and you follow that influencer. And so now that is a hidden gem. But other than that, if you're posting the places that everybody else is already posting about, and that is out in the open, where you can easily take a bus there, you can easily drive there, and it's like right there, like it's out in the open where cars pass by and everybody passes by, and like it doesn't look like it's sketchy and stuff. That's not a hidden gem. That's just a gem. It could very well just be a gem, but it's not a hidden one. It's just a gem. It's just a cool spot. It's a popular spot. It's a hot spot. It's a trending spot. But don't call it a hidden gem. So that was a nice one there that I saw. That was I just thought it was funny because like I do see a lot of people. They just kind of say like the hidden gem, just because they're trying to rack up those views and trying to get people to be like, wow, that place is hidden. It's a hidden gem. Wow, like like kind of like. It's almost like a ego boost, like if you're like scrolling social media and then somebody's like, hey, have you heard about this hidden gem? You almost feel like, holy shit, like I'm a lucky person, today is my lucky day because I found a hidden gem, this is something that probably nobody knows about, like only me because I'm in the know because I follow this person, and stuff. And, that's not really the case. But yeah, so let me keep moving here. Let me keep moving. Let me see if I can find another one here. No, not that one. All right, here we go. This is probably gonna be the last one. I'm gonna cut it here. I do have more, but more of the threats and stuff. But I think that's gonna be enough. This podcast went way too long, and my voice is dying. So this is gonna be the last one. And we're gonna get out of here. All right, so. This one's from Threads, so let me read it to you. All these restaurant owners and chefs see nothing wrong with inviting influencers to their place, expect them to support them by paying the whole bill. Expect us to take time from our schedule to visit the restaurant, pay our own gas, parking, tipping, filming the food, eating cold food, creating and edit the reel when we get home, post the reel, and answer questions about the restaurants. Doing all this for free. If this is the case, I'll open a restaurant and invite influencers ourselves. Yeah, So, I was spoken about like, and there's, certain influencers that are not okay with going and, you know, doing comped collaborations, gifted collaborations where all you're getting basically is the food or the drinks or whatever it is, all you're getting is the actual product for free in exchange for content. So that already is pretty bad for some influencers. And I understand, some influencers have worked really hard on their content. They've worked on their following, they've worked on their brand, they've worked on whatever it is that gives them value. They worked on it really hard in order to get to where they got to. Whether they invested money, whether they invested a lot of time, they invested a lot of energy, they invested time getting to know people and connections and networking and stuff like that. There's a lot of investment that goes into somebody's page, and so for you to just go and give that away in exchange for a product, is something really to think about. It's not that I would say that it's unethical or that it's bad. I don't think there's a right or bad when it comes to that. I don't think there's a right or wrong when it comes to that. I believe that it really is up to the person and, whatever it is that their plans are, whatever their goals are. It's really up to the creator themselves if they want to actually do the deal or not. Because at the end of the day, it's them doing the deal. It's not like they're making a deal for somebody else, At the end of the day, it's their page, it's their worth, it's their journey, it's whatever they've gone through, whether they're in the mood to give back and they just want to do it for free, or they feel like it's time for them to get rewarded and they want to just be charging left and right. Everybody's at a different stage when it comes to the creator journey here. And so it's really up to the creator if they want to give away their work for free or not. But here's the thing, like, the one that I feel like it's bad altogether is the one where the restaurant will invite you to come and create content and do everything that I just said with the threat there, and still expect you to pay the bill and tip and pay for your own parking. And, I don't drive, but if you have to pay for all that, on top of like, the time you need to invest into going there and then having to edit the content and then having to post it and then having to answer all the questions that come up after you post the content, like that's a lot of work. And if they expected to even pay for the bill too, like, yo, that is beyond like normal. Like I personally myself have never done that. I've done it voluntarily where like, there's a place that I really, really like. I'll go ahead and make a video for them. I'll buy the food as a normal customer, and then I'll go and I'll create the content, and that's that. But they never asked me to do that. That was me voluntarily. I went there. I paid for it because I wanted to. I wanted to support the place. Or maybe the place is trendy and I know that they don't do collabs at all. So I'm going to go and do it because, it's trendy and it's going to get me some views. So I'm going to go and invest into it just because, I want to get that clout in return, right? But, if a place is asking you to come through and do all that work and then like they expect you to pay the bill as well, that's a little bit of beyond reason there, and I don't think you should do it. That's one of those situations where I'll tell you that I don't think it's right that you do it. Because it's just complete like to me that's full on disrespect to the creator, because if you're not at least willing to give the creator like free food, you're not willing to hook them up at least, like that's like the least you can do, in order if you're gonna have them come through all the way to your restaurant to try food. Like at that point, like why would I even create the content for? Like I could just go and pay as a normal customer and go to another restaurant, one that I actually really like and I want to support, and I could go and pay them and not even create content. I could just go in there and eat, and that's it. I call it a done deal. Maybe I take a picture or something for my stories, but that's it. I'm not gonna go in there and like create content and all that stuff. And one of the things that she said there was the cold food. Come on, like a lot of us foodies, we eat cold food because we receive the food, it comes out of the kitchen, whatever, and then the food is sitting there for a while because we're taking all these angles, we're taking pictures of everything, making sure like we're taking a lot of takes as far as like whatever the food is. And so at the end, like the food is not as warm or hot as it's supposed to be because it's been sitting there for a while and we've been using it to create content and stuff. And it's not the most enjoyable experience. But we understand because, if you're getting the food for free, then, that's a price we're willing to pay. We understand that we're getting this for free, so we can't really, decide that it's going to be warm and stuff, right? But if you're paying, I think that's another deal there because that means that you're not getting anything in return. Besides, like I said, the only place that I would say that it would make sense is if you're getting invited to a place that's very, very trendy. Like it's just really trendy, and there's almost like 100% or at least a 90% guarantee that if you go there and you create a video out of that place, and that you're gonna get like a lot of views, and that it's gonna lead to something else. It's gonna lead to something. If you feel like that could be an anchor to something else, then that's the only reason I would do it. But that deal itself has no worth, at least to you as an influencer. It has zero benefit. Now, it could be an anchor to something else where the benefit could come somewhere else. But if you're having to pay for the full food, for the full meal, and having to create content on top of that, it's not a good deal for you. It's not a good deal. I just want to do it. That's just my take on it. All right, so that's pretty much it. I need to end this. Because I'm starting to feel really tired. My voice is starting to feel like it's about to disappear. Like I'm just like tired right now. Like oof, I am so tired. I really feel it right now because, like I said, I haven't been in here. I haven't been able to sit with you guys and make a podcast and everything. And this takes energy. It's not like it's something that I could just pull off any single day. I gotta come in here. We gotta talk for a good hour or so. I think we already went like towards the hour mark. Maybe when I edit it, it becomes less than an hour because there's a lot of parts that I need to get rid of here. But we've the raw here, the raw footage here is more than an hour, so just know that. And so we've been here for a while, but so that's it. I gotta put an end to this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I'm always happy to come through, make these episodes for you guys and talk about things that are happening in the industry, things that are happening with myself in my journey. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for today's episode. If you guys want to follow me, subscribe. My bad, we're on YouTube, so subscribe, the Foodie Filmmaker, and make sure you follow me. Follow me on my podcast Instagram, tff.podcast. The link is down below. You could also follow me at my Foodie Instagram at the Foodie Filmmaker, of course. And make sure you follow me there and everything. Remember, if you want to talk to me, just DM me, send me an email. If you want to be part of this podcast, there's a form you can fill out down below that can lead you to that, so you guys can be part of this podcast at some point. I will start sending invites. I always say that, but I haven't gotten there yet. But I will be very, very, very soon. I still need to get some equipment in order to have the guest here, so that I can film the guest and I can film myself too. But so that's pretty much it. Make sure you follow everything, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.